Facebook world, whoever's online right now, because I know it's in the evening here now in the East Coast of the USA, but that's okay, because when inspiration strikes, you just gotta go live and talk about it. So we'll see if anyone comes in, and we'll roll with it. So usually there's a little bit of delay, so cool, looks like some people are able to join. Awesome. So if you haven't seen, I've shared a bit about this 11 year that we're in and the significance of this month of November, which is obviously the 11th month of the year, and we are in a time where we're having multiple 11 activation points. And you know, the spiritual community gets all hot and bothered whenever 11s are around, because it's seen as this spiritual number. It's a master number. It's about synchronicity and intuition and tapping into, you know, a spiritual aspect of yourself. That said, what is really happening in relationship to the 11, right? What is really going on? Why is this number a spiritual number, right? That's what we're going to just talk about, so that you can understand the significance of what's going on right now, this major activation portal that we're in. And before I begin, just saying hello to everyone who's here with me now live. So the 11 and also the 12, these are very important numerological codes, right? The secrets of the 11 and 12s. And the 11 and 12s essentially hold the key codes, the lock key codes with density locks. Oh, we are going to grab my charger before continuing, because otherwise we're gonna get cut off. You know, you think after hundreds of live videos by now I would think to make sure things are charged before streaming live. Doesn't always work that way. Okay. Cool. So anyways, as I was saying, the 11 and the 12s, these are secrets. They're secret key codes to unlock the universal stargates, to access the God realms, right? The, say the higher planes, right? For just, let's see, language that's friendly to everyone. So the 1 is the Christ 1 code. And the 1111 is literally creating a direct line to one's monad. So whenever we are in a 1111 portal, essentially, we are in an opportunity to stream a stream of direct consciousness to the monad. So for those of you who are not aware, we're going to just break down, you know, what the monad is, because this is incredibly important to understand for your development as a soul. So our monad is the portion of our, let's say, multidimensional mind that corresponds with the 8th dimension and the, let's say, God seed, right? The seed of God consciousness. So it is the level of our being where our Oversoul lives. And your Oversoul is at a higher dimension than your soul, right? We're all like trying to be soul embodied here. That said, the soul is actually at a density below the Oversoul. So our Oversoul matrix is, let's say we're looking at a holographic grid here, right? So the monad is this 3-dimensional scalar grid. And within that grid, it houses the Oversoul identity. So your Oversoul identity is literally the part of your consciousness that is able to create you and I and all the other things that we see here is created through our oversoul consciousness, holding that vision and beaming through, making all of this possible. So when we're talking about our monad, we are talking about literally the highest part of our mind, the closest to source that we can tap into without going directly through our monad. In order to go directly through to source, we go up in through our monad. So in moments like this month, when we have these major 11-11-11 alignments, we are literally getting this activation directly streaming through from our monad. So why is this important, right? You might be thinking, why is this important? Why does this matter? So your monad is housing your oversoul, and your oversoul has created everything for you already. It is literally, and I had one meditation journey where I glimpsed at my oversoul, and it was this mega being just sitting in meditation, projecting out onto this holographic screen millions of lifetimes, and it was just navigating all of them, projecting all of them, and holding each and every one of them in like this supreme state of bliss. So when you have a direct connection to your oversoul, to your monad, then you are able to connect into the purest line of what you are here to be creating, of what this life is about. So from that perspective, when we have 11-11-11 experience, we get this activation, and you might find that your plans change, your life changes, things change. And Scott is saying here, is the oversoul hanging with the angels? No. So angels are actually at a much lower dimension than the monadic dimension. So we have the monadic mind at the 8th dimension, and then we have the angelic mind at the 6th dimension. So our monad and our oversoul, and then we have our soul at the 7th, and then we have the angelics at the 6th, and we also can call the soul the catheric mind. So the angelic mind is in the 6th dimension. And then we have the archetypical mind of the 5th dimension, the astral mind of the 4th, the mental mind of the 3rd, the emotional mind of the 2nd, and then the physical or instinctive mind of the 1st dimension. So our oversoul and the monad is actually creating all of the angelics as well. Everything that is created through the oversoul. And a lot of us are likely from the same oversoul. If you resonate deeply with me, chances are we are from the same oversoul, or we are from oversouls that are really good friends, because that's just how it rolls when we are this deeply woven with each other. When you recognize someone as soul family, chances are you're from the same oversoul. If you're from the same oversoul, you have your twin soul contract. So I have a couple of twin soul contracts here. One of them is my soul sister Marsha, and she and I are literally twins, and we have the same coding. We're from the same oversoul. So from that perspective, when you have soul family, then your oversouls are like homies. You can just use human terms to talk about something that's totally ineffable, right? So from that perspective, once you get over the oversoul, once you get up into the higher dimensions, right, when you get into 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 is source, right? It is God, if you want to call it that, or source, or, the seed of all existence is stemming from the 12th. And then in the 11th and 10th and 9th, those 3 dimensions, you have the formless. It's completely formless. So once we get down into the 8th dimension is when form is actually able to begin creating itself through the monad, through the oversoul mind, right? It's a format of the mind. And if you really understand the mind is a matrix. It's a holographic grid. So what we have experienced is a monad reversal. And a monad reversal happens when how's the best way to describe this? So every monad in its creation, every oversoul, gives all of its life forms that it's creating, all of its little people or animals or plants or interdimensional beings, whatever it's creating, because it's creating all these different life forms, has free will, right? So that they can experience life and make choices and see what it is like to be a creator, even though ultimately the oversoul is creating it all. It has this experience of perceiving like it is being the creator. So, and Scott, I see your question. I'll get to that in a moment. So when a monad reversal happens, it is essentially because the path that has been followed gets so manipulated and twisted, and because of, in some universes and in some planes there has been advanced manipulation tactics. There have been groups of beings that have gone out and have decided, hey, I'm gonna try to take charge and own all these universes, right? If you saw my post about certain dragunas, talks a little bit about that happening in there. So anyways, when that monad reversal happens, then, which we've been in, we are this plane, this entire Milky Way galaxy has been in a monad reversal where we have been moving away from our central seed, which is Andromeda and M31. So the really cool thing, and if you're a science, if you love science, then science is actually proving what we already know in mysticism, and that is that we are on our way back home, and science is actually finding that there's going to come a point where the Milky Way galaxy literally collides with Andromeda, and that's us actually returning home, because the entire Milky Way galaxy is seeded from Andromeda. Anyways, I digress. So we have been in this monad reversal, and the 11 and 12s come in to reset that. It's their lock key codes that allow us to be able to access, into our monad and into the oversoul, into the original templates. So the Christ one is pure Christ star codes. What some might know as Christ, right? CH, it's really Krist. That said, there's a lot of discernment and human language that kind of comes into that. So when we have these 11 activations, especially the triple, right, 11, 11, 11, we are literally getting a course correction from our monad, which means our oversoul, and we are able to tap into the direct line of our truth, right? The truth before we got involved in all the monad reversals and got trapped in this three-dimensional plane that has been manipulated and twisted and has all these fields around it for a really long time that are at this point being taken down, which is amazing. It's a very auspicious time to be alive. That said, right now is this course correction. We're in a course correction anytime we get tapped into our monad codes. So you might be experiencing, for me, I am getting downloaded all day long. Amazing ideas coming through, these really profound things that I'm going to be sharing with you all soon and creating are coming through. It's direct tap line to the source of this being. So Scott says, is the oversoul over many souls? Yes, absolutely. So our oversoul is creating millions, if not billions, of lives simultaneously. And if you just came in, I said that I had one. It's very rare that you can really tap into that kind of stream of consciousness and actually project yourself there. That said, there was one flash of a moment where I was able to, because I'm a journeyer, I travel interdimensionally, and there was one moment where I was able to journey to that dimension, and it was a flash, and in that flash I saw the oversoul, and I saw it projecting out onto this this holographic matrix is really the only language I have, and it was just meditating, and in its meditation it was swirling all these lives and creating and destroying all of these lives. So absolutely, the oversoul has many souls, right? Because the soul level is the cathartic level of the 7th dimension, which is, monad, oversoul's 8th dimension. So from that perspective, yes, many, many millions of souls are within the same oversoul. So then you look at, things like soul family and, twin souls. All of these things are going to be, beings that are coming from the same oversoul and have this deep, have the same path, right? They have the same internal purpose and mission. So I'm just seeing if any other questions have come through. And if anyone has any questions, then come on and bring them through. I traveled for the first time it just cuts it off there. Maybe last night, who knows. But that's awesome. Traveling is a lot of fun, and it can be a wild ride sometimes. That said, we can all travel. It's just a matter of opening up, first and foremost, your imagination, opening up that part of your brain to allow yourself to break free from the 3D matrix. The logical mind keeps you bound to the 3D matrix. So from that perspective, in order to travel, in order to astral project, in order to have visions, in order to speak interdimensionally, in order to do anything that is mystical in any way, it requires opening up our imagination. And Michael, that is my number one tip for traveling, is to strengthen your imagination, to be creative, to, if you find yourself having a hard time imagining and visualizing and creating up silly little fairy tale stories and things like that are very imaginatory, then really, really practice cultivating your imagination, because that is going to start to open up your right brain. And in order for you to travel and to do all of these amazing things that we're capable of doing, it requires right-left brain coherence, and a vast majority of people are left brain dominant, very logical oriented, and are unable to really access that part of themselves, that imaginatory part of themselves. It's monad, M-O-N-A-D, yes, with a D at the end. And there's a lot of information on the internet about the monad. Please, I highly encourage you to use your discernment. As always, whenever we're talking about anything in life, always use your discernment. If it feels right in your heart, then allow it to be so, right? And then do a little research or ask your internal guidance, So, yeah, tips for traveling. Connect to your imagination. Marsha, see, this is my twin soul here. She's from the same Oversoul. And I was just talking about her 5 minutes ago. And next thing I know, here she is popping in live. That's what happens when you are twin souls. Hey, sis. Love you too. So anyways, more tips for traveling. Let's see, what would be the next thing that I would recommend to travel more? Yeah, so cultivate your imagination. Develop a really solid meditation practice where you are able to get out of your mind, because when you travel, you are going to experience things that your mind, your logical human mind, will not be able to make sense of. And if you are bound by the mind chatting, then you would get pulled back. And I learned this from it happening many times, where I'd be traveling and then all of a sudden the logical mind and the ego would start talking and I'd be pulled right back into my body. So having a really strong meditation practice where you're able to really sharpen and focus your mind, right? Not just lose the mind. It's not about that. It's about cultivating a super strong discipline of your mind and a super strong focus of your mind, so that you can project your mind into all different dimensions, because it's all available right up here. It's just, do we have discipline? Do we have discernment? Are we able to focus our mind? Most people aren't able to focus their mind, right? This is we are at a very elementary understanding of the mind. And really, if we're talking about tips to move towards practicing interdimensional travel, being a journeyer, being a time bender. Time bender means you're able to bend time and travel through time and space. Being a time traveler, a skywalker, right? All these different ways of describing the same thing, which means you're a traveler. You're able to interdimensionally travel. And it's all happening in here, right? So, and also in your plasma body. So that's another tip that I would have is find someone who can support you in learning about your plasma body and developing your plasma body and activating it and learning how to navigate it and learning how to work with it, learning how to travel with it, because that's really where you're traveling a lot of times. So finding someone who can help to support you in developing your connection to your plasma body. I'm one of those people, so you can just reach out. This is stuff that I do with some of my super galactic clients. Yeah, so let's see. We got 3 tips there. Anything else that wants to come through that's important for practicing travel. Overcoming your fear of dying. Overcoming your fear of leaving your body. A lot of people have a really deep fear of leaving their body and of dying, right? It's one of the deepest core fears of human beings. It's part of this whole death matrix that we've been kind of bound to. That said, when you're traveling, when you're journeying, and you're leaving your body behind, there can be, if there's fear around that, there's fear around leaving the body, you'll just get pulled right back in. I remember I was working with a client, this was years ago, this was 4 or 5 years ago, and I was actually just doing energy work with him. And after the session, and I felt this happening, he said, I have never experienced this before. I was being pulled out of my body. I was leaving my body. And then all of a sudden I became very aware that I was leaving my body, and I got afraid to leave my body and instantly popped right back in. So that's another really important thing to really look at is any fears around leaving your body, any fears around dying. And no, you're not going to die when you travel, right? It's not, unless you choose to not come back. That's very well possible if that's in your highest alignment. And even if that is in your highest alignment and you're really tapped into that, you're definitely not afraid of dying. So from that perspective, getting really comfortable exploring means you have to be comfortable leaving your body. And so addressing any core fears that might be still ungrounding you, right? Keeping you ungrounded. Ungrounded is basically having unconscious fears that are still subconsciously navigating and creating your life for you. So those are really important things also to cultivate within yourself to be a traveler. And the last thing that I will recommend here as tips for learning to travel, remembering how to travel, is to really cultivate a virtuous life, because you will meet a lot of things when you travel, and not all of them will be benevolent. Not all of them will have your highest intention and your highest, they will not value you in any way. And if you happen to come into contact with these beings, which I have, then it's very important that you have a very strong, virtuous life that you are living, that your energetic imprint is very pure. Because if there is any part of you in your system that is compromised, meaning it's ungrounded, it is operating through fear in any way, then you will be susceptible to these beings, and they will take advantage of you and possibly take over your body. That happens. So super important to cultivate a virtuous life and to live a life of purity and discipline and devotion to your highest and best, and for the highest and best of all, because you will be spotted when you start traveling. When you awaken your connection to your monad, you will be like a lighthouse in the universe for all beings to try to gate through you. So it's very important that you are very, very clear of your energetic sovereignty, and very pure and very grounded. These are very important things for traveling. Awesome. Let's see if there's any other questions that have come through. I will answer, Any others that want to come through right now in this moment? Awesome. Well, let's see if there is anything else that wants to be shared in this moment now. I hope that was helpful. This just turned into a tips on traveling, which is fun. If anyone has, an interest in traveling, they want to start to develop this within themselves, if they feel super resonant with that and they feel resonant with me, this is, a journey that I bring people on over the course of several months. So you can always reach out and connect, and we can see if that's an alignment, because I also am very specific about whom I will connect in for that kind of journey and work. And it's only something recently that I have started to do openly, because there are certain things that I am connecting to now that allows me to be grounded enough to hold that space for others to journey as well. So you can always just reach out and connect and open the conversation. That's really the best way to begin. So to recap, we are in an 11/11/11 activation portal, right? November 11th, 2018, 11. This will not happen for another 9 years. So this is the time to really contemplate, to get clear, to meditate, to exercise your body, to detox your body, to have days where you don't eat very much food so that you're not running all your energy on your metabolism. It's a time to get into nature and to get quiet and to start listening to what's coming through. Because right now, what's coming through is the voice of your Oversoul, is the voice of the highest part of you that you can potentially connect to in this physical form. And it will assist you in course correcting if there is a course correction to make, or it will assist you in expanding the course that you're on currently. And the information is going to be so pure and it comes through so fast. So if you're not quiet, if you're not devoted, if you're not in a space of listening and receiving, you're going to miss it, because it's at such a high frequency that it moves so fast. And my husband and I are on a juice fast till the 18th. Amazing. This is the time. Last weekend I did 3 days, 2 days of water and then 20 hours of dry fasting. And mega download came through for this amazing year-long school that I'm going to be starting in 2019 for mysticism, teaching people how to be mystic life coaches, and pretty much just teaching everyone everything that I know, everything that's inside of here. And inside of here is going to be shared so that others can go out and do this epic work on the planet. The voice that wakes you up at 4:44 a.m. I don't get woken up at 4:44 a.m. At 4:44 a.m., I am usually far out into way out dimensions, or I'm working with clients in their dream space. I often go and visit my clients in their dream space because we have contracts with each other. So nothing is waking me up. I am dead asleep for 9 hours every night doing interdimensional work. So, that doesn't happen for me, being woken up. So if you are being woken up at 4:44 a.m., then sit and meditate, right? There's a reason why you're being woken up. Cool. So that is all I've got to share. If no one has any other questions, because I guess it's kind of late here. So I'm probably going to wind down and go to bed here soon. Anyways, I appreciate all of you for tuning in and for being open to receiving this. I've gotten this really epic download in the last few days as we've been in this portal, right? That, I'm here to bring mysticism into the mainstream. And this is really just the beginning. So I'm going to start to talk about some of the things that are a little bit more far out, I guess you can say, more often. So if you've got places or people or podcasts or things like that want to have these kind of conversations, I'd love to be connected with them. And I'd love for you to share this and support that, because we're all doing this together. And I appreciate you all so much. Have a beautiful day. If you're in the Australias or the Asias or wherever you're at in the world, If you're in the Americas, have a beautiful rest. I'll see you guys again soon.